Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the first ever Pigskin Project podcast. Ben is my co-host. We've been talking about this for some time. How are you doing today, man? Just to start us off.
I'm doing fantastic. Again, college has us a little busy, but I'm doing good. But no, we've definitely, it's finally good to have this like on paper and kind of starting to record and just having this out there because I know we've talked about this for months and always had the love of football for it. I mean, again, since we've met, we've always had the love. So it's just about time that we've gotten this out
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I remember throwing it back all the way, a couple years ago to junior year, which doesn't seem that far ago or so far long ago. Sorry. you know, I mean, I remember when you would give me rides to like practice or just school or whatever I needed. This would be like the number one topic, man. I mean, throwing it back all the way to, my Bears double doinking in the playoffs against your Eagles and everything, even though we weren't, friends just yet.
Yeah, that was the
You know,
3-year anniversary for that. It was just a couple weeks ago.
yeah, we don't have to talk about it. But so as far as, I mean, this has been a very interesting season to say the least. I mean, this is something, the playoffs in general are coming up this weekend. The day that we plan on posting the podcast is, the first day of the playoffs. And, we'll get into our picks and everything, but as we record this, it is Wednesday, January 12th, and I have some news for you as far as, three big, titles, big headlines
Yeah,
for the season, at least for this first week of playoffs. So,
let's hear them.
yeah, let's go ahead and dive right in. Richard Sherman, unfortunately, his season ends as he's placed on IR for a second time due to an Achilles injury. Eric Weddle also came out of retirement to play for the LA Rams and search for a ring. And then Frank Reich is not completely committing to Carson Wentz for 2022, but I do believe that there is a much, much bigger fish to catch as far as breaking news out for this week and just the NFL season as well. There are plenty of head coach and GM vacancies. The Giants and Bears and Vikings all have head coaching and GM vacancies. And then the Dolphins, Broncos, Jaguars, and Raiders also have head coaching vacancies as well. Why don't you tell us about that?
Yeah, just real quick though. Richard Sherman, it's a shame to see. I mean, he's again Hall of Famer and nobody's doubting that. But these last few years, he has you can definitely see why the Seahawks released him originally. And like you said, this is the second time this season he's on IR. So he's been in and out of that lineup, which is also going to be a shame for that 49ers secondary just because they've really lacked it.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
the safety news coming out of the Rams, also again, Hall of Famer, nobody's going to argue. Eric Waddle, it's debatable. He's debatable. He was a good player in his prime, but he's not starting. Again, the Rams have two like bona fide starters in Fuller and Taylor Rapp. So it's fun, cute story, but I don't know how much that's actually going to impact. And as an Eagles fan, I just want to say we definitely won that trade. Carson is he's never going to be what he did in the 2017 season or 2016-17. He's not that player, and I'm not surprised. But
Yeah.
Yeah, we can go into this we can talk about these vacancies. And again, we've had conversations about this and I know we've definitely disagreed about
Yes.
how we rank these jobs. But again, there's a few teams out here, I'll have to have you remind me, that are looking for GMs. We're not going to really go too far into the GMs just
Oh
because,
yeah.
let's be honest, who really
Who does the research on the GMs?
yeah.
The head coaching though, those are pretty popular topics, and I completely agree with you. What teams are you going to tell us about today as far as, these head coaching vacancies? I mean, you can tell us about or a lot about these, judging by, the crazy amount of football knowledge I know you have after years of knowing you.
Again, I mean, I would say there's 7 head coaching job vacancies. There are teams that need head coaching or new head coaches. I would say 5 of them are desirable. Like those are like where head coaches would want to go. But then there's another 2 that um I would say as an offensive or defensive coordinator, I would not want to coach the Vikings or Giants.
Right.
Um, but and again, I'll get into it. But I know your Bears just fired their head coach. Who do you want to see
Oh
in
man.
their spot? And I'll talk about the other teams, but I'll let you take away about your Bears.
Oh my gosh. I mean, as far as my Bears go, I'll be honest with you. And I mean, I've had this conversation with my dad, who, is arguably the biggest Bears fan I know, sparking my love in the first place for the team. As much as I wish it was some better organization, like, in recent history, the Patriots have been great. And that would be so much fun. But, I love the Bears, man. I mean, if you know me, I got, just about everything Bears set up for me. But as far as
Oh,
their head coaching vacancy, man, I mean, it's all very um it's mixed for me, man, because the thing is the last few coaches that we've had, they've all just been terrible head coaches. And I mean, you
yeah.
have your Mark Trestman, then John Fox, and
Oof.
yeah, John Fox. I was really, really excited about him, man. When he came
Yeah.
back, and he was like, I actually met him too in the 2017 training camp. Great guy, but
Oh
terrible
wow.
coach. And then, obviously Matt Nagy, which, I had a lot of hope after the 2018 season. But as far as this year, what I want my Bears to do for their head coach, I don't care. Get the guy that can get us to where we want. I don't know that much as far as, you've got a lot of different people, man, that can get the job done. Like, there's a coach out there. I forget his name in the heat of the moment, obviously, but he took your Eagles to a Super Bowl and won
Doug
them to,
Peterson.
Doug Peterson. He, I'm sure he's a great coach, great candidate. Also you have Brian Flores, which is, obviously a shocking move by the Dolphins. Another intriguing option, of course. And as far as other candidates, I mean, as far-fetched as it may seem, you still have to entertain the idea of Jim Harbaugh. But it's hard. It's very hard for me to just pick a candidate and stick with them. But if I were to pick one, it's one I haven't named, and his name is Kellen Moore. So it's very tough. I like what he's done with Dallas, and I'm just
Yeah.
gonna keep it short and sweet. That's my answer.
All right. Yeah, definitely. Again, we can run through these vacancies and I'll definitely rank them. But as for your Bears, um, yeah, definitely had high expectations for Nagy because didn't he win Coach of the Year in 2018?
Somehow, yeah,
Yeah, I
definitely.
don't know how that happened. But definitely one thing that living in the Chicagoland area, you hear clamoring about is all teams you want, a great head coach that can scheme really well, but more specific, I mean, that's what the Bears need, especially with a young, exciting quarterback like Justin Fields.
Mhm.
You just need a head coach that can scheme up an offense really well. And that's why personally I'm a fan of Brian Leftwich. For you guys, he's the current offensive coordinator for the Buccaneers. So I think he fits really well in that. But let's run down my list. And this is all 7 teams. And this is, most desirable to least desirable. Um, I'm going to have the Broncos. If I'm a head coach and I'm looking, the team I want to be the head coach for is going to be the Broncos. They have $48 million in cap, so they have enough to do to play around stuff with. But also they have an average offensive line. It's not going to be anything stellar. And that's kind of sad, but your weapons are awesome. You have great weapons with Cortland Sutton and Jerry Jeudy and KJ Hamler. So your outside weapons are awesome. You have a good running back. Your defense is fine. So you have the money. So I have the Broncos as my number one, team that I would want to coach. The only reason, the only downside that they have is the quarterback spot, and you can wait another year with Teddy Bridgewater.
Yeah, he's reliable in some aspects. I definitely agree. Who you got next?
Then I got the Dolphins, and this is just I have Dolphins on here just because they have so much money. They have $75 million in cap.
Oh,
Yeah, as a head coach, you can go out and you can, obviously you have to work with the GM, but you can go out and you can get the players that you want. And again, you don't have to worry about the QB situation. I don't think Tua's ever going to be that guy, but again, you can string along Tua for a couple years until you feel you have a prospect that you like. So
yeah, absolutely.
This next one, I can already tell you're gonna be peeved, you're gonna be ticked that I don't have the Bears here. You're gonna be shocked, but my third is gonna be the Jags. The Jags are, like they
We'll
don't have a
get
good
there.
roster.
We'll
Yeah,
get there.
they don't have a good roster, but again, just as the Dolphins, they have tons and tons of money. They have $72 million. They have 10 picks in this draft. And then that's also not to mention who's back there at quarterback.
Right.
Trevor Lawrence hasn't showed us exactly what we thought, but
Mhm.
he's still, going into that
He's
draft, he
shown
was
flashes.
absolutely in this last game
Yeah.
against the Cardinals. He showed that, or
Mhm.
Colts, sorry.
Yeah. I knew what you meant.
So again, you got your quarterback for the future. Um, Now I got your Bears finally.
Yeah, it's about time. No, I'm just
About
kidding.
time. You guys have a decent amount of cap. You guys have 43 million in cap. But Justin Fields just has to be such an intriguing quarterback to coach up and scheme for. And I'm sure you watched it all year.
Oh,
He did not. Again, nobody's saying he's played at a top 10 level this year, but he definitely showed the flashes that eventually, if he takes him out, or like he puts in the work and he takes the
yeah.
steps, he could be a top 10 quarterback in the league.
And I really don't mean to, interrupt you, so I won't for very long.
No,
But
you're
I
good.
will say, as biased as I might be for my Justin Fields, because for all the people listening and watching on our YouTube channel, um, you know, I'm an Ohio State fan, and so I was able to watch him. I was lucky enough to be able to watch him in college, and he blew my mind. And the fact that we were able to get him at 11th overall was just insane as well. So, but I definitely think I agree with you. He's a very intriguing piece. I'm not necessarily counting out this season, but I don't want to go ahead and jump the gun and say he's not going to be that good, judging by his stats. I'm going to back him up every day. If you stat watch this quarterback, you don't know exactly what you're talking about whatsoever. But I will say, just watching him in college and everything, he is just such a good piece for this next team, whoever it may be. And I do believe that the Bears are going to handle this correctly as far as developing this quarterback. So I'm very excited to see what they do. But who you got next?
Again, and just the last point in that, as long as you get him in the right hands, um, or as long as you get him in the hands of the right head coach, I feel like he can be leaps and bounds better than what he showed. And not that again, not that he played bad this past year, but he could be so amazing again if you get him in the hands of somebody like Brian Leftwich.
He's going to break that Ohio State quarterback curse. Guaranteed.
I hope so, because I tried to tell people when Haskins came out it wasn't going to happen, but all right. And then this is the fifth team. I just have the Raiders. A bit weird that you have the only playoff team down here at 5.
Mhm.
But that's just because it's obviously all year you saw it with Henry Ruggs, you saw it with everything that happened with John Gruden. It just, this team mentally is just not in that right spot.
Yeah.
And is Derek Carr gonna stay? Like, you just, this all rides on Derek Carr, because if Derek Carr
Right.
is gonna stay, then they're gonna be a lot higher. If Derek Carr isn't gonna stay, then this is not gonna be anywhere near as good as what they were this past year. So it really
Right.
all just rides on Derek Carr.
Okay.
Um, and then this is where it starts to kind of get bad. These last two teams have the Vikings. They don't have a lot of money to play with. They only have $14 million,
Mm-hmm.
and then they're stuck. And I'm sure you know this completely. They're stuck in this really weird limbo zone of being too bad to get this top pick, not being good enough to make the playoffs, and
Yeah.
no shots at Bears fans or anything. But
Yeah, no, we know a lot about that. And I mean, okay, before you get your closing statements out on these Vikings, I do want to say I completely disagree with you on putting them this low. I've read a lot on these Vikings and the head coaching vacancy, and it's it's honestly something I'm very terrified about because I do believe this team has shown a lot of potential. I was very, very impressed with what Kirk Cousins did this past season.
absolutely.
And if Dalvin Cook can stay healthy in 2022, this team might be a competitor in the NFC North with the right coach. I do think that Mike Zimmer messed all of that up. Obviously, like you said, they don't really have that much in cap space to play around with, but you know, um, obviously a couple defensive pieces could go a long way, but this offense has shown that they can definitely keep up with a lot of good teams.
And again, I get that, but like, what team on this list? I mean, would you have them ranked in front of the Bears as a
I'm
head coaching
biased, man.
destination?
I'm biased,
All
but
right, because
we'll get, I don't want to say too much, but we'll get to my point of view um towards the end of tonight's
all right,
podcast.
I got you. I don't think they got a lot of money in cap. They have key defensive players like Anthony Barr hitting free agency. With $14 million, I mean, you're gonna have to choose. Do you want to get out here and fill other spots, or do you want to keep pieces like Anthony Barr around?
Mhm.
And their defense, it's they ranked 31st in the league this past year. Daniil Hunter's a beast when he's healthy, but he's consistently hurt. Their their cornerback room is just, I mean, it's terrible. I love Patrick P. Again, I mean, I grew up watching Patrick P. So did you, but he's no longer that player that he used to be.
Not at all. I was
Um,
terrified when they signed him too, but
he just,
nah.
yeah, he's yeah, exactly. He's
Not
just
at
not
all.
that player he used to be.
Yeah.
Um, and again, that defense is just, it really scares me with, they already played so bad, and then with not having a lot of money,
Mhm.
what are your plans going to be? And that's my
Yeah.
concern with this team.
I don't mean to throw any gut punches, but as far as the offense goes, um, they
Their
should
offense
be.
is fine. Love their offense.
Oh yeah, no, their offense is great, but they should be thanking their lucky stars that those Philadelphia Eagles picked Jalen Rieger instead of Justin Jefferson. Because these
Yeah.
Eagles, I mean, they're playing in the playoffs this year, correct?
Yeah.
So I mean, I definitely think they'd be a pretty decent team with Justin Jefferson
I
and
mean, I
and you
mean,
know,
just
uh
yeah.
yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
I mean, just for a second, I mean, Jalen Rager, or not Jalen Rager, Justin Jefferson. And honestly, we probably wouldn't have drafted Devontae Smith if
But
we had
if you
Justin
did,
Jefferson. But Devontae Smith and Justin Jefferson, I mean, come on now. I mean,
yeah,
that's
unbelievable. But
scary.
I didn't mean to steer you away from, your train of
No.
thought. So go ahead and finish this up here.
And no, and last team on here, nobody should disagree with me on this one. It's the Giants. They only have $4 million in cap. Their offense has been god awful this year. I mean, like,
Mhm.
you signed a guy like Kenny Galladay in this past offseason to be your number one wide receiver, and he hasn't even caught a touchdown this year. The offensive line is ferocious. The defense is, I mean, they're spending so much on their defense, and to only get average production. And then what are you doing with Daniel Jones? Daniel Jones is fine, but I mean, do you really have the confidence in Daniel Jones to be that quarterback? I mean, like,
Yeah.
I mean, what's your opinion on Daniel Jones? Because he's a I would say he's probably around the 20 range, and I'm not, with how
You
bad
know,
this team is, 20 is not good enough.
not at all, but I will say this team has a lot more issues than just quarterback. So as
Yeah.
far as Daniel Jones goes, I mean, I would develop literally any other position before I even touch Daniel Jones because I mean, this is just one of those things, and I've made this argument constantly when we're arguing about football is that a quarterback's situation that he has put in matters a lot, and people don't give that enough credit. And with an awful offensive line and a lack of pieces and everything, I mean, you have Saquon Barkley constantly getting hurt, and it's a lot for a young quarterback to deal with. So I definitely think, I mean, he has shown a lot of potential in some areas, but he's also shown a lot of weakness in some areas too.
Yeah.
I can definitely see them moving on from him, but until they move and kind of create a better team around him and see what he can do, I don't see them moving on too quick, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, and just clothing thoughts, and for both sides of this. Again, I don't think they get rid of him. I think they wait another year or two until his contract is done.
Right.
But on one side of it, you have, he's throwing to guys like Kenny Galladay, who was, I mean, I think he was underrated when he was with the Lions. Kenny Galladay, he was good. You have Sterling Shepard, who you drafted in the first round, Darius Slayton, who broke out a couple of years ago. I mean, your guy Kadarius Toney in the draft. So
Yeah.
and his tight end is Evan Ingram. So
Yeah.
it's not a lack of weapons. So and that's my concern with him is he only put up with decent production with I mean quality weapons around him. But on the flip side, when Daniel Jones was playing, the team was, I'm not going to say they're good. They were meh. But then you take Daniel Jones out of that and you put in guys like Mike Glennon. Obviously, Mike Glennon and Jake Fromm aren't good, but that team was ferocious without them. I mean, like they had -3 passing yards. And I mean, the fact that Daniel Jones was even able to stay afloat can speak to how, he is a decent quarterback. So you got two sides there.
I do want to say I was at that Bears Giants game, and that was the best game of the whole season to go see in person. So I'm very happy I was able to go and do that. But there's not been, in recent memory, there has not been a single game. And I mean, the Bears play the Lions 2 times a year. There has not been a single game in the past, I would say even 3 years, that I have watched from my Bears to where I've sat back and said, this team that they're playing is so god awful. And so I completely agree with you. Yeah, I would totally have the Giants here, at last, this last spot. But we'll see what they can do with the new GM and head coach, coming in. Do you have any final thoughts before we move it out to this next segment?
Again, two things. David Gettleman, the GM, terrible. So it's nice to have him gone. David Gettleman was a terrible GM. But also I just have a quick list of head coaches to give you real quick.
Oh yeah, 1,000%.
I have a guy, Eric Bieniemy. He's the offensive coordinator for the Chiefs. He's been getting looked at for years for jobs. I just don't know if he's going to leave because he's again been looked at years for jobs. And then you have a guy like Brian Leftwich, which I've already talked about. He's phenomenal offensive mind. Like if I'm hiring, he's the guy that I'm hiring this year.
Yeah.
Todd Bowles, the other coordinator, he's the defensive coordinator for the Bucks. He got his name was floating around last year. His defense has played very well this year, and he's been a head coach previously, so he has that experience. And then you have a guy like Doug Peterson. As an Eagles fan, I know all about Doug EP. I don't think we should have fired him. I mean, his specialty is technically offense, but he's just like he is just an all around, good at everything, and he's very good at keeping like emotions of the locker room intact. I mean, like he was able to keep that emotions handled of this whole Carson Wentz thing with the first time with Nick Foles when they benched him for the Super Bowl, and then the second time the year after. And eventually Carson Wentz forced his way out, but he was able to keep that in check. So he's a super emotionally intelligent guy. Then you have the Bills offensive coordinator, Brian Daboll. Again, he was really heavily rumored to some teams last year, but he ended up just not going because he didn't have he didn't have a team comfortable enough to coach because when you're only getting offers from guys like the Giants again, you just stay as a coordinator. Don't
Right.
leave. And then you have Kellen Moore, who again I love him, but you also got to think, like you said about the quarterback situation matters. You have an offense of again, I think he's great. And again, I think he'll get that, but you also got to think the offense he is scheming up. I mean, he has top 5 offensive line in the league.
Yeah.
Zeke, Zeke's debatable. People have their opinions on him, but then
He's
you
up
have
and
Dak
down.
Prescott. Yeah,
Yeah.
but then you have Dak Prescott, Amari Cooper, Michael Gallup, and CeeDee Lamb. I mean, like that's one hell
That's
of an offense. So
crazy. Yeah.
you should be as good as what Kellen Moore is doing. But
Mhm.
I think he's good.
All right. Well, let's move it on to this next segment. I'll let you take a little water break or whatever. I'm gonna give you my playoff picks because it's playoff weekend. Playoffs are starting now. If you're listening and your team is in the playoffs, keep your fingers crossed. I cannot promise you that I will have your team winning, but all right. So I'm gonna go
Let's
ahead.
just do the first round real quick because we got a whole bracket for everybody that's listening.
Right. Yeah.
But let's just do this first round first. So
Yeah.
you
Okay.
go.
So as far as the wild card weekend, I have Cincinnati winning against Vegas in a close one. My shocker.
Hold
Yeah,
on
go
real
for it.
quick. By the way, this is we're recording this before wild card weekend. Totally didn't even plan on talking about this, but man, oh man, was that game against the Raiders and Chargers?
Oh,
I mean, not one for the books.
this man had to bring this up to give this guy. Okay, look, I completely agree. That was probably the last game of the regular season, was probably the best game of the regular season. I will completely agree. But it was also the most frustrating for me because in our fantasy league, I lost because the person I was playing had Vegas's kicker. And it just so happened that I was 1 point away, and then he kicked a field goal and lost me my championship. But it's whatever. It's fine. Great game. I had fun
Great
watching
game.
it, and then I didn't. But yes. Okay. So yeah, like I said, back to wild card weekend. I have Cincinnati winning over Vegas.
Yep.
And then in my shocker of the whole week, I have New England beating Buffalo. I have Kansas City beating Pittsburgh. And then on the NFC side of things, I have Los Angeles beating Arizona, Dallas beating San Francisco, and Tampa Bay beating your Philadelphia Eagles. Yeah.
Again, I every single pick that you have on here, I completely agree with. Besides that, Pats and Bills. So again, just to reiterate, in the AFC, it'll be the Bengals over the Raiders. But then I have the Bills over the Pats. Again,
Okay.
the Bills played very, very well against that Pats team when it wasn't 50-mile-an-hour winds.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna have that Bills over the Pats, and then the Chiefs over the Steelers. And then in the NFC, which I'm just happy to be here. I mean, happy the Eagles are here. The Eagles are gonna lose the Bucks, but I think it's be a little bit closer than what people think, and that's not
Yeah.
because my Eagles are gonna destroy them. It's gonna be because the Bucks are missing,
Mhm.
you know, many pieces. The Antonio Brown fiasco just happened. Um, Godwin's out. Fournette might not be playing, so that's why I think it's be close to what people think. But the Bucks are going to take that one.
Okay.
The Cowboys over the Niners, like you said, and Rams over the Cardinals. Important to note that in the NFC, your favorite team, the Packers, have the bye, and in the AFC, the Titans have the bye.
Yes, of course. So as far as the divisional round, I
Yep.
have Kansas City beating Cincinnati, and then Tennessee with Derrick Henry coming back. They're going to beat New England to advance to the AFC Championship. And then the Cowboys are going to knock off Tom Brady and the Buccaneers. And then the Packers, unfortunately, are going to beat the Rams just because Aaron Rodgers off of a bye. It's very, very tough to beat that man. But what you got for the divisional round?
Again, I have the Chiefs, and the Chiefs are going to beat the Bills. And then You're saying this so nonchalantly. We've had this conversation. I'm Eagles fan, um, and I don't put up with that BS of people saying, "Oh, my second favorite team is whatever." No, you're a fan of one organization. Again, as you know, I mean, I literally have two Eagles fans or flags hanging here in the background. Huge Eagles
Yeah.
fan. That being said, I am just for this year riding that Bengals bandwagon.
Yeah.
So I don't
Mhm.
think you're giving the Bengals enough credit here. My shocker is I'm going to have the Bengals beat the Titans. So it's going to be the Chiefs and Bengals in the AFC Championship round.
Okay. All right.
But then I have the Rams and Bucks. I have the Rams winning that, and then I have the Packers beating the Cowboys. So it'll be Rams and Packers in the Did I mess that up?
I do think that the seating is off a little bit. Let me look
Yeah.
at a
Sorry. Yeah. You're right. I'm sorry. I have the Rams beating the Bucks. Yeah. I have the Rams beating the Bucks and the Packers beating the Cowboys. Is that correct?
okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be yeah, right. Okay. Wait.
So Packers and
Green
Cowboys, correct?
it would be no. It would be Dallas and Tampa Bay, Green Bay and Los Angeles.
Dallas. Oh yeah. All right. So
Okay.
shoot,
Sorry.
that's gonna be a tough one. All right, I'm gonna
Yeah.
have the Rams beating the Packers,
Okay.
and I'm gonna have the Bucks beating the Cowboys. So I have the Rams and Bucks going into that championship round.
You know what? Okay. So even though our NFC championship game is completely different, I respect that because the Packers are losing. Anyway, okay. So
I've
for
just been on the
my
Rams high this year when their offense, when Matt Stafford isn't throwing 10 interceptions a game,
yeah,
they're a good team. But continue.
yeah. Okay, so for my AFC championship, I have Kansas City beating Tennessee for one of the best comebacks in, recent memory as far as, where they started this season and
Mm-hmm.
then, where they're finishing in the Super Bowl. And then I have Dallas beating Green Bay in the NFC
Mm-hmm.
Championship because I'm not very confident. And I know people are going to be like, oh, you're biased because you're a Bears fan and you don't want Green Bay to go in the Super Bowl. Yes. But no, at the same time, because Green Bay's rushing defense, it's just not that good. And I really feel like Zeke is going to come out and just be this stud because they need to get the Cowboys back to the Super Bowl. And that's where they're going to do it. So it's going to be Kansas City and Dallas in my Super Bowl. But as far as yours, what you got?
See, easy enough for me. Again, I have the Bucks beating Cowboys, so I don't even got to worry about
Mhm.
that. And again, that Bucks. By the way, that Bucks run defense is phenomenal, which is scary for me as an Eagles fan.
Mhm.
But that Bucks run defense is phenomenal. That's also why I had Todd Bowles on that list. But I have the Chiefs and Bengals. I'm gonna have the Chiefs. As sad as it is for me to say this, I'm gonna have the Chiefs
Coming out on
beating the
top then, yeah.
Bengals, which is sad. I don't want to
Yeah.
say that.
So there's a rematch in your Super Bowl. Oh man. I as much as oh
And then
man, I hate rematch Super Bowls and championship games. It's awful.
whoa. But again, my championship, you messed in the NFC. Because again, remember in the NFC, I have the Rams and Bucks.
Rams and Bucks. Yes.
That's what
Okay,
I
never
have.
mind. Yes, my
And
bad. Okay.
yeah, I was just going on a tangent about the Cowboys.
Yes.
Sorry.
Okay. No. That is
But
completely my fault.
I have Rams and Bucks in that, and I have the Rams coming out above the Bucks because
Oh,
it's hard
okay.
to win. It's hard to win the Super Bowl in back-to-back years, let alone with the roster as old as this Bucks team is,
Hmm.
with the added week in the regular season as well. It's just hard for
Okay.
me to see the Bucks get back there. So I have a Rams and Chiefs Super Bowl.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So that's way better as far as my interest level. So either one, in my opinion, would be fine. But
Yeah.
I have Kansas City taking it all in my Super Bowl. I think they're going to come out on top, mainly just because of seeding and matchups and everything. They kind of have an easier path, in my opinion. It's going to be really tough to beat Tennessee in that AFC Championship. I think the receiving core might actually do pretty good for Tennessee, but it's
I
just
would
not
hope
enough to
so.
Yeah, it's not enough to beat this Kansas City team that's just caught fire. And both of them, both of the teams in my Super Bowl, in the Cowboys and the Chiefs, it's strictly just momentum for me. And these two teams, I believe, have the most momentum going in to this year's playoffs. And, with all the injuries taken into consideration and the controversy and everything, I mean, it looks better for both of these teams. And so I'm just going to go ahead and take the safe pick and go ahead and take Kansas City just because I don't believe Dak's going to do that well. So that's my little bold take for there. But, what you got for
Um,
yours?
and I agree with you on the momentum thing when it comes to the Chiefs, because again, like you said, they had a horrendous start to the season. They didn't start well, and they're finishing it super strong.
Mhm.
But the Cowboys just lost to the Cardinals 2 weeks ago. That was literally a gut wrenching loss for them, because
Mhm.
that could have put them in line in competing for the number one spot with the Packers.
Mhm.
So that was a gut wrenching loss to the Cardinals. But again, I have Chiefs and Rams, and we're gonna be boring on this podcast here, but I have the Chiefs winning. As much as I would love the Rams to win,
Right.
um, I just the Rams offense, and not that the Chiefs have a great pass rush or anything,
Okay.
um, but the Rams offensive line is just horrendous. The Rams can't get a run game going. They can barely protect Matt Stafford, and when Matt Stafford's under pressure, um, he's been throwing interceptions out of the wazoo.
Yeah. I
Um,
do I do want to say, I mean, as far as your Super Bowl matchup goes, and as far as, you've taken the Rams, I'm very much a fan of Matthew Stafford, despite the fact that I am a Bears fan. And, he's played against my Bears multiple times in Detroit, and he torched them in week 1 this year. I really do hope that Matthew Stafford gets somewhere in this playoff run, just because he deserves it, man. I mean, after everything that he
playing with
went
that
through,
horrendous franchise.
yeah, it was awful for him. So, I really do hope that he gets somewhere with these Rams, and I'm with you. So it's gonna be a good playoff. Are you got any other closing statements before we get into your next segment?
Again, just that one last thing. Again, love Stafford, and he had to put up with terrible, terrible years with the Lions, like the poor guy.
Yeah.
um, but two things about him. Again, that offensive line, it scares me, and Matt Stafford has shown this year that he will throw interceptions if you get pressure in him, or like
Mhm.
on his face. He has 17 on the year, which is terrible.
Right.
And again, the Chiefs picked up Melvin Ingram in the middle of the season, and he's been a best mid-season pickup for any team this year. He's been reeking quarterbacks in his pass rush.
Yeah.
Um, but then the other thing is when are we going to give Matt Stafford credit for the two most prolific, receiving years ever?
Yeah.
Okay, Calvin Johnson had, again, he holds the record for most. I don't think he does anymore, or I think he does. I think he holds records for most yards in a season. And
Okay.
Cooper Cup was coming very close to that. Cooper Cup
Mhm.
led the league this year in receptions, yards, and touchdowns.
He's a beast.
So he is. So when are we going to give Matt Stafford credit for arguably the two best receiving seasons in NFL history?
Yeah. No, I'm right there with you, man. But with that being said, for all, both, no, I think it's been 2 or 3 years now that I've known you. And if it's anything that you are a professional at, it is your college football. And, I wish I could say that I was as knowledgeable as you are, but I'm just going to let you take the microphone and, what you got for our college prospects after this national championship game, which was great, by the way. And I do want to say before, and I keep leading you on to start, so I'm sorry, but um, when we talked about starting this podcast, we were in a B-dubs, right? And I mean, obviously,
No.
this wasn't the first time we had started talking about having one, but when we sat down and decided this is something we actually want to do, and put into motion, man, was it so much fun to just cheer on those Georgia Bulldogs, even though neither one of us were fans of the Georgia Bulldogs.
No, Michigan and Ohio State fans respectively.
Yeah. And for any of you guys listening, just a little bit of backstory is that this B-dubs, this Buffalo Wild Wings was packed with Alabama fans just cheering a bunch. And it was just, I mean, dead silent for whenever there was any kind of Georgia Bulldogs momentum going for them. So me and Ben here decided to clap really loud and be probably the most obnoxious non-Georgia Bulldog fans in the whole restaurant. And it was a lot of fun. Glad that we were able to do that. But that being said, I'm going to swing it over to you for a little bit and see what you got.
Yeah, no, absolutely, I agree. It was fun cheering on the Bulldogs just to get under the skin of the Alabama fans. And again, it was just fun because progressively throughout the night, you could definitely hear the Bama fans got louder as they did something, and we did the same as Georgia did something. So that was a lot of fun. Uh, that being said, again, we're gonna enter the college corner here. And coming into the offseason once the playoffs are done, we're gonna have so much to talk about. The draft is my thing, so I want to keep it short here because again, I could talk, anybody's heads off for days when it comes towards this draft. So
I do want to say,
short.
as far as your whole draft thing and being so knowledgeable, the reason why I don't talk during this part is because I said Zach Wilson, even if he goes to the Jets, is going to be great this year. And Kadarius Toney was going to be awesome too, and I hope the Bears get him and blah blah blah. Yeah, with that being said, I am the worst college scout I know, so take it from me.
Well, and again, and this is something we'll see throughout it. It's okay to have your guys, and I mean, NFL franchises don't even hit on their guys. Again, I'm a fan of the Eagles, and we drafted
Sorry.
Yeah, and we drafted as an Eagles fan, we drafted Jalen Reagor. So it's okay to not hit on your guys all the time. Yeah, don't discourage yourself too much. And again, it's funny you talk about Zach Wilson because you're so much of a proponent of QB situations, and the Jets doesn't really offer him a lot of talent. But again, that being said, we'll jump right here into just the national championship as a whole. Again, it was one of the lowest scoring national championships we've ever seen, and definitely one of the most fun national championships I've watched behind the original Georgia and Alabama one.
Right.
But it's a shame to see again a guy like Jamison Williams get hurt. For me, he was my favorite wide receiver in the draft class behind Garrett Wilson, but Jamison Williams was phenomenal. Great all season long, and him just tearing his ACL is just sad. I don't think he'll fall too far in the draft because he is such a good wide receiver, but it's sad that he had to tear his ACL, and that's definitely what I thought the turning point in that game was, because now no longer did the Georgia defense have to worry about covering deep, and that's when that Georgia line was able to just pin their ears back and go, and that's when you see a first round talent like Nakobe Dean, who's linebacker number 17, really flourish because he no longer had to worry about getting the top end of that defense blown out, and he could just wreak havoc. And that's when that Georgia defensive line and linebackers just really went at it. And Nakobe Dean really showed why he's going to be taken in the first round this year in that game. Jordan Davis, it was funny because we talked about him before the game. Mountain of a man.
Love this guy now.
Yeah, he's huge. I mean, I don't think he'll fall to pick 39 or whatever. But I mean, if you guys can somehow manage to get him to replace Keem Hicks, that would be phenomenal. I'd be all for it.
I'm just gonna I want to speak it into existence, but I know it's just not gonna happen. He's gonna be there and they're just not gonna take him. Guaranteed.
And again, as somebody who likes to scout these players, the interesting thing about this game is the huge knock on Jordan Davis is there's two, and I'm only gonna touch on one of them. Is again his stamina is bad and he gets out of breath, but also he's only just a 2-down player because he's so big. People only saw him as a run stuffer, but this game against Georgia or against Bama, he had a sack. So he definitely showed his pass rush upside in this game, which is going to be encouraging to his draft stock. So I don't even know if he will be at 39 after this game because, again, his pass rush was there, and he's shown that he actually has ability of that.
Mm.
So, and then just two more things, quarterbacks. Love Bryce Young, but he's definitely, again, he's your Heisman. And this is, I don't want to trash the Bryce Young, but it's definitely shown that like sometimes his decision making is poor. That's also being said his two best targets were out, John Mechie and Jamison Williams. And he tries to just play hero ball a little bit for stuff where it's not supposed to. But again, Bryce Young's be a great quarterback. Should go number 1 overall next year. But Stetson Bennett, man, he's just a story. He's a starting quarterback for Georgia. And just his path to get there was amazing. If you guys haven't heard of it, he was a preferred walk-on at Georgia. His freshman year in college, just right out of high school. But then he transferred to a junior college, transferred back to Georgia, and was their 5th string quarterback, and somehow managed to work his way up the depth chart, got to first string, and now won the national championship. He's not going to be a draft prospect or anything, but just that, I mean, that's a story you see in movies. It's, great story. So
Yeah, absolutely.
But
All right.
again, that's enough for now.
Yeah, I'm gonna let you get a little breather as
you.
we segue into this next segment. These are our 3 bold takes, and let me explain to you how these work. So basically, both of us are gonna name off 3 bold takes that we actually believe, and the other person will give us one of those, one of the 3 options to talk about just for a little bit. And then the other person will go and give their 3, and then we'll talk about one of those just like that. So with that being said, my 3 bold takes. So constantly throughout the podcast, when we're talking about the head coaching positions and, the most attractive, and, with me being a Bears fan, you'd think that I would be like, man, Chicago just so happens to be the most attractive. Like, that would be probably my number 1 spot if I was a head coaching candidate. No, I would be lying to you. That number 1 most attractive situation for a head coach is in Jacksonville, in my opinion, mainly because of the cap situation. The defense is also on the rise, and the offense has potential to be great as long as people stay healthy. My second bold take, and this one you're going to be like, wow, the Chargers are going to be Super Bowl contenders next year. Crazy, right? And then as far as the Brian Flores, the firing, with it being as shocking as it is, I think, as my third bold take, that they gave up a deep 2022 playoff run by firing this man.
I like all of them, and I like how they all have that theme to them. All right, so we got the Chargers one, we have the Flores one, and we have
Jaguars.
The Jaguars. I see where you're coming from with the Jags. I understand the Brian one. So I want to hear the Chargers one. I think I can see where you're coming from, but I don't know if I completely agree. So let's hear the Chargers one.
My argument for this one is, it's a great cap situation. I believe they're top 4, top 5 at least, for the money to spend this offseason. So they have potential to upgrade this defense. And there's a lot of great pieces out there for this defensive upgrade. I think that there is a lot that they could do. They have, I'm not entirely sure how many picks that they have just for this next draft, but I do believe that, there's plenty of potential for that defensive upgrade if they want it and if they can make it. I'm a firm believer in Justin Herbert. I honestly think that he can lead this team somewhere and, exactly where it needs to go. But most of all, it's the people around Justin Herbert. And I think, that awesome wide receiving core, if they can keep Mike Williams and sign him to another extent or just an extension in general, and then, build their offensive line to protect, Austin Eckler and keep him healthy and off of, the COVID protocols, and then, obviously build off of Justin Herbert. But that defense is bottom 5, and it definitely needs some help going into next season. So you want to argue that?
um my the I love Justin Herbert. The problems I have with it is that I don't think the Chargers are going. The Chargers here, I'm looking up how much money the Chargers have right here with cap space. I think they're three. I think they're third this offseason in cap space. So that's nice. But I
Yeah.
just think Mike Williams is going to want way more money than what the Chargers are willing to get. Like you said, that the defense is such a weird situation because Brandon Staley, who's the rookie head coach, got brought in as this defensive guru guy, and he's supposed to lift this defense to the next level. And in that defense, I mean, I'm pretty sure statistically it was the worst run defense in the entire league, and it was a bottom 5 defense as a whole. But I do agree with you on that Justin Herbert take, though, because Justin Herbert, again, in that Raiders game was phenomenal, but just that Chargers defense is just so bad.
Josh Jacobs ripping up that defense was the clear indicator that not only will the Raiders win this game, but my fantasy football team was not going to win that game. So, but
that being said, too, it's funny that you say that because, again, don't want to spend too much time on it, but Jordan Davis, that prospect we were just talking about, he fits phenomenal at pick 17. I feel like he would slide right into that Raiders defense. It'd be phenomenal.
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, like you said, I would love him on the Bears. I doubt he falls, but
no,
we shall see.
Well, if he gets past the Chargers, he could. But continue. Sorry.
Yeah. Before we get into your takes, I do want to let it be known that we did not discuss our takes. We did not discuss our predictions, and our last segment as well. We did not discuss whatsoever, any of this stuff. So these are all just straight up improv arguments.
Yeah.
Just raw. Okay. So yeah, if you made it this far, keep listening. Keeps
Thank
getting
you.
better.
Yeah. Yep. But so I got 3. The first one's a biased take, but I'm willing to back it up. Like, I can back this up.
Here we go. Eagles take.
Yeah. Again, I said something to you a little bit a couple days ago, but I didn't go into detail. I stand on this hill. Jalen Hurts is the best value at quarterback when it comes to play and money that he is receiving in the NFL. He's the best value at quarterback in the league. My second take is just on Watson is written, legal stuff aside. And again, that's a whole different conversation. Legal stuff aside, Deshaun Watson, it should be a Brown, and I don't think there's any other team in the league that he should be on. He's a Brown through and through. And then the last one is Trayvon Diggs is by far, it's not even close. The hatred that burns for this man is on a different level. But Trayvon Diggs is the most overrated, overhyped player in the
NFL. The choices, man. The choices you gave me. Okay. A little bit of backstory here, right? So we did talk about the Jalen Hurts deal, and I'm with you 1,000%. After getting it explained to me, do you want to explain it really quick? Just because I'm not going to pick that one, but if you want to briefly explain to them what you said to me, that'd be probably the most ideal thing.
All right. So I'm just gonna throw this out there again. Keep it super quick. We're not gonna pick this one. Um, Depending on who you ask, again, little bias here. Jalen Hurts is around the 15th range of like best quarterback in the league. I would rank him around 15. I would rank him above guys like Jared Goff and stuff. So again, he's the 15th
Mhm.
range, but he's getting paid the 52nd highest salary of the quarterback in the league. So he's playing at like a 15th level while making a 52nd highest paid salary of just quarterbacks. That's not even the whole league. That's of the quarterbacks in the league. He's the 52nd highest paid one. But
Yeah. Okay. Little bit of backstory as to why this choice is so hard. So as far as the Deshaun Watson one,
again,
I've
and
got, go ahead.
this is legal stuff aside. Obviously, like
Yeah.
if everything comes out that like what he did was true, I mean, he was a scumbag. He should not play in the NFL. He should not get the chance to be in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
So this is legal stuff aside. But continue.
Um, I I have family in Cleveland, so we watch the Browns games, and as much as we can. I have a half Bears, half Browns jersey in my closet that I don't think I've showed you before, but it's got my old high school number on it and everything with Matthews written on the back. That's pretty cool. So as far as the Browns go, I'm very, very hooked on Baker Mayfield just because he was the heart and soul of last year's team. And it's very hard for me to just let him go. And the thing is like, okay, you know what? I'm just gonna go ahead and pick this one just to get it out of the way. But okay, we'll talk about Trayvon Diggs later on, and probably another episode. But
Absolutely. Because
as
that's a
far
mountain I
as,
need to stand on too. Trayvon Diggs
yeah,
can.
he's, yeah. Anyway, all right. So as far as Baker goes, man, I hated this guy. I hated this guy. When the Bears, or not the Bears, when the Browns picked him up, I hated him to my core. And I was so disappointed that they picked this guy up. And this guy was going to be their quarterback because of what he did to my Ohio State Buckeyes in college when he planted that flag on the O. It took a lot of me to just forgive this man. And when I finally did last year, when he went off and just did this crazy amount of touchdowns and threw for this crazy number and led them to a divisional, I think it was divisional playoff run. And to be honest with you, with injuries and everything, they should have beaten the Chiefs. But Chad, I don't know how you pronounce his last name. Is it Henne?
Henning,
Henny? I don't know. Yeah. If he, yeah, I mean,
Michigan
he just
QB
came out.
maybe.
Yeah. If he, whatever. With him coming out just slinging it like he, should have been the starter for the Bears, man. Like he could have gotten a better season probably. But like, oh my gosh. It was such a letdown for Cleveland this year. And I'm very much disappointed in Cleveland fans for giving up on this guy so quick. By all means, I definitely agree with you when it comes to, if Deshaun Watson were to play next year and if he were to go to Cleveland, I'd be very excited for Cleveland. That's a significant upgrade. And, it just sucks because, after following the Browns last year, after seeing all of the community and charity work that this man does for Cleveland, and knowing that this guy has it in his heart to want to succeed with Cleveland, it's hard to see him go. And that's
Yeah.
why I'm almost against it. But I'll let you go ahead and, preach your
All right.
side.
All right. So my thing is Deshaun Watson when he played last year, I think is what it was now. Again, with this whole legal debacle, it's hard to tell. But last year
Yeah.
when he played, nobody is debating this. Like this is not a debate. He was a top 5 quarterback in the league. And it's not even a question.
Absolutely.
People would have him top 3. I mean, he was a top 5 quarterback in the league last year.
Mm-hmm.
So you add a top 5 quarterback to, and again, this isn't Baker, and we'll get to Baker here in a second, but you add a top 5 quarterback to that amazing offensive line. I'm willing to say that's a top 5 offensive line in the league. To that offensive line into the great running game of Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb, and then to that stellar defense, and the only thing that they need now is a better quarterback. Love Baker. Baker can get you to playoffs, but he's never going to win you a Super Bowl. So you're going to
Unfortunately.
need so you need a better quarterback, and then a better wide receiver. You trade your day one pick and then you draft somebody like George Pickens or David Bell in the second round. But the other thing I have to say about it is, again, people love to embrace Baker, and people in Cleveland, I mean, they do love Baker. He was what Johnny Manziel was supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and he's a fine quarterback. Again, I don't have a problem with Baker. But my thing is he is going to ask for the same money that Deshaun Watson is getting at $30 million a year while not playing up to that. So if I'm going to spend $30 million on a quarterback, which is what he's going to ask, I'm going to want it in a quarterback that is playing, at a $30 million level. That's just not what Baker's playing at. If Baker
Yeah.
wants to come back on $15 million, fine, but that's not what's going to happen. He's going to
Yeah.
want to be paid, what the market is for quarterback when he's not the top quarterback, when he's
Right.
not worth getting paid that. Well, and Deshaun Watson's going to be making, honestly, at the time he's going to get paid, he's going to be making less than what Baker's going to be making,
Right.
playing at a significantly higher level.
I do want to give a little tidbit of news. Just now reading this for the first time. Deshaun Watson was almost traded to the Dolphins.
Yeah.
And that was I mean, news, and I had known that, but it was only, and I mean,
Brian
again, this
Flores.
is news at the time. Yeah, and it was because of him, and that was why I had my bold take. The reason why Deshaun Watson was not traded was because 18 of 22 of the plaintiffs were secured and ready to settle with Deshaun Watson, and so he would only have 4 holdouts. And so because of these holdouts, these 4 holdouts that stopped him from playing, these 4 holdouts blocked that trade. He was almost traded. And so because of that, I mean, he's not a Miami Dolphin, and Brian Flores is not the head coach. And then the last thing, really quick before you say what you were going to say, their target to trade Deshaun Watson is before the next season starts. And so that would be, I believe that's late March. So that is their plan. They want to trade him
Are
before
you talking
then.
about before the season starts or before the new year?
Before
There's
the new year. Yeah.
Okay.
So the new league year. So they're wanting to trade him at some point before March, or at least have an agreement set in stone that this is going to happen. We're going to see a Deshaun Watson deal.
Yeah.
I do believe that he will be settled and he will be playing in 2022. You might want to take a note because I might be looking at him for my fantasy team next year. But go ahead and say what you were going to say, and then let's move on to the next segment.
And before 3 days ago, or whatever, how many days ago it was, I would have told you he was going to be a Dolphin. But Deshaun Watson came out and he said the reason he wanted to play in Miami for the Dolphins was because of Brian Flores. And now that you fired, not only were the Dolphins stupid and fired a fine head coach, they also just blew their chances with Brian Flores as well.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And this is,
go ahead.
And this is also something that I wanted to talk about in the college, and I completely forgot about it. I will not entertain the idea of Jim Harbaugh going to the NFL. That's stupid. Every other year he comes out and says he wants to go to the NFL. It never happens. Once it happens, I'm fine to talk about it. But as a Michigan fan, every other year he comes out and said, I'm going to go to the NFL. I'm going to go to the NFL. I'm going to go to the NFL. It's not happening. I'm sorry. It's just not. He says it every other year, and he's doing it for leverage to get a bigger contract. He's staying in Michigan. But anyways.
He's among the favorites right now for the Bears. But anyway. So now for the final segment of tonight's podcast, And this is our little goofy corner. So this is something that we're going to introduce to where this can be anything football related, not football related, just something we feel like talking about. This is previously discussed, but we do not know our points of view on these, the question that could be asked every podcast. So after that little brief introduction to the goofy stuff corner, which is probably going to be renamed, but whatever. So this week we have the playoff quarterbacks, just because we're gonna rank them this week just because it's playoff week. So what do you have for your number? I don't know how many are there.
It's 14.
14. All right. What's your number 14 power ranked quarterback for the 2021 playoffs, 2022 playoffs, whatever.
Yeah. For this upcoming playoffs.
Yeah.
This is also very important to note. This is at least this is how I ranked it. I don't know how Ryan ranked it, because again, this is our fun corner or whatever you want to call it. So we're all gonna have different views and different opinions and stuff. But I ranked it as how they're playing currently right now going into the playoffs.
Right.
So that's super important. This isn't them as a whole, because who I have at 14 is a legend. He might be a Hall of Famer. But at 14, I have
agree.
Yeah, I have Big Ben.
Yeah.
He's played horrific.
So
he has not played well.
He should have retired after the Browns game, and I have him at 14 as well. Poor guy. That's all I gotta say. Poor guy. He deserved a better send-off, and what he's getting is just poor performance. And I wish it could have ended better for Big Ben. Obviously, I mean, with half of my family rooting for Cleveland, it's nice to see him leave. It's like basically Aaron Rodgers leaving for me, but I mean, he's not good, man. They barely squeaked in.
He's so unathletic. It's not even funny. Like, he can't do a 5-step drop back without tripping. It's bad.
And then for 13, who you got?
I think we're gonna agree on this one too. It's gonna be Jimmy G.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. If we have the same list, I doubt we have the same list, but anyway, yeah, Jimmy G.
I think we're gonna
go ahead.
I think we're gonna disagree on 12, but Jimmy G's I mean, this is his last season as the starter until Trey Lance takes over. I mean, it's just a matter of time. And
yeah,
he offers no threat of downfield passing. He just cannot throw the ball deep. I mean, he's going to throw 5-yard outs to Deebo Samuels, and he's going to take it to the house. Quarterback. Yeah, he's going to take it to the house for 60 yards, and everybody's like, "Would you look at that 60-yard pass? It was a 5-yard pass, and Deebo Samuels did the rest."
Yeah. Okay. So for let me just note, okay, because I was about to move on, but let me just note, I do think Jimmy Garoppolo is my dark horse candidate to get traded, but he would be also a significantly better backup for these 49ers than anybody really expects. But I'm not going to get into teams that could potentially trade for him, because we could save that for another podcast. We're trying to save a little bit of time here, but yeah. So going into number 12, I'm gonna go ahead and introduce the next two. Not right now, but I'm just saying, because you got the first two. Let me get the next two.
Yeah.
All right, for number 12, I got Mac Jones.
I'm getting concerned that our lists. I'm sure that we're both. I'm sure we have 11 as the same too. I have Mac Jones too, and I thought that was kind of a hot take.
Yeah, Mac Jones. Here's the thing, man. It's tough to put Mac Jones, who's a rookie, over any. If we looking at my list now, we might have the same list. But I mean, it's tough. He's gonna be good. He's gonna be great. He's a very
This is now. Yeah, this is now, not later on.
Yeah, but I just want to note, he's a perfect Bill Belichick quarterback. He's just got plenty more to learn, and this is first of many for his playoff appearances. So that's why I put him so low.
Oh God! All right, what's your 11? I'm scared. And again, I think this is important to note. We do not know each other's lists going into this.
Ryan Tannehill.
Okay. Whew. Our lists are at least
did we strike out
different. Yeah, we shaked out. Good.
Okay.
They're not the same.
All right. You can go ahead and argue this one. This will be fun.
This hurts me. I'm gonna have Jalen here. And this is just because of his, and this isn't just so much Jalen, it's just the passing options around Jalen just aren't really there. We have Devontae Smith and Dallas Goedert, and then Jalen Reagor. So and that's the reason I have Jalen down here. But I have Jalen at 11. Let's hear your case for Ryan.
As far as Ryan Tannehill goes, we're ranking this strictly off of this season, as we noted before. And I mean, he hasn't performed that well because the Titans are such a rushing heavy offense. And, without Derrick Henry available too, that offense is slowing down. But, with AJ Brown coming, on and off of the field and Julio Jones not being Julio Jones this year, I mean, it's very,
you
very
forget
risky.
that he's on that team sometimes, honestly.
Yeah. And when you see Jones number 2 on the field, it's like, oh, that's Julio, the guy I once said was the best wide receiver in the league. Like, very interesting. Okay, since you already said it, I know I said I was going to introduce the next 2, but I'll give you the next few after this one. I have Jalen Hurts, and I wasn't going to just say the next quarterback without you saying Jalen Hurts, but I put Jalen Hurts here just because I think there's better options later on. And this is, later on in our power rankings or whatever, that's when we're really going to start to disagree, I believe. But who do you have here?
I have Ryan Tannehill. Would you look at
that? I figured. So probably for the same reason too, right?
Yeah. But I think right here, I'm going to say this, and I kept on saying this before. I think this is where we disagree. Here at 10, I'm so scared, and I'm willing to fight you about where you have one of these quarterbacks placed.
This would be 9.
I have Derek,
by the way.
Or this is 9.
Yeah.
Oh, it is. Yeah. I have Derek Carr. Please don't tell me,
dude. I swear to you, I have Derek Carr in this spot. Okay. There's no way. Okay, here, I promise you, we didn't coordinate this whatsoever. Okay. Yes.
Derek Carr. Who do you have at 8?
Josh Allen.
Okay. Whew. Okay, let's get to Derek Carr first. So.
Okay, Derek Carr. I put him here just because he's not the top. What is this? 8? Top 8? He's not in the top 8.
He's they just bet it's not. No, it's not his year. Carr. Yeah, and he doesn't have passing weapons.
Yeah, I mean we're not gonna get into that. But yeah, no, he just doesn't have his passing weapons, and he's not in my top 8 for the year as far as the playoff.
Yeah.
But he's definitely top 10 this season, I guess, just judging off of playoffs.
Yeah.
But all right. So yeah, I have Josh Allen in the next spot.
This is gonna be a hot take, and I know I'm gonna get heat for anybody watching this because, again, you look at the stats, and the stats do not tell you the story here. I have Dak Prescott. And my problem, I have Dak Prescott because he loved Dak. He's not the player that he was after he got hurt this past year. Okay. And my thing isn't, he should be producing more than what he is in this offense. In these last 3 or 4 games that he put together outside of this Eagles game that everybody's going to be hyping up because he had 5 touchdowns, even though the Eagles literally had their entire backups out. Like it was like 3rd and 4th string guys. But like, from week 15 all the way up to like week 18, he was not playing good football.
Oh yeah,
especially for the team around him, I'm sure, because fantasy, baby.
Yeah,
I expected him to perform better in this latter half of the season than what he actually did. So that's why I have him down here.
Yeah, those 10-point performances screwed me out of a couple weeks, but whatever. And then to top it all off, as far as my fantasy league goes, and I know, it's over with and nobody cares, but if I would have played Dak Prescott in the last week, I would have won. I mean, he scored 30 something points for me. It's PPG, by the way. And it's just, I didn't think he was going to play that much. They didn't have that much to play for. And then all of a sudden he goes off for like 5 touchdowns. And it's like, dude, you need to have like spread out those touchdowns over the rest of your season, because then that would have helped me a lot more. Okay, yeah. As for Josh Allen, though, I mean, I just didn't want to put him over any of these quarterbacks that, you know what? I wish I could change this. Can I change this? I want to swap it out and move everybody up one. I'm moving Matthew Stafford down. I'm gonna move him at where Josh Allen is, and I'm gonna use Josh Allen as my next pick.
Wow,
Matthew Stafford is gonna be right here, mainly because of his inconsistencies. He's got a lot to work out in this offense. He's got some wide receivers that, have gone down, but he's also made Cooper Kupp look really good. And the thing is about these next quarterbacks is that these quarterbacks make their offense look even better. These are the flashier quarterbacks. These are the ones that are potential Super Bowl contenders, in my opinion. Except for Ryan Tannehill, but he's not going to win you a Super Bowl, in my opinion. But I definitely think, Matthew Stafford, I mean, he has potential. Don't get me wrong, but we talked about it, tonight. And I definitely think that, Matthew Stafford is just not doing that good this season specifically. So I didn't put him up that high. And that's why I moved him down.
Yeah, I have Matt here at this spot too. So I wanted to talk. I wanted to touch on this point again. We should probably. Anyways, I want to touch on this point, make it quick because we're running out of time here. But again, important to know. Me and you had this conversation. There's 3 types of quarterbacks in this league. There's the win with, or there's the win because of, like the quarterbacks that are elevating the team to way higher standards than what they actually are. Then there's the win with, which is, like this dude's not going to do anything to win you a game, but he's not going to do anything to lose you a game. And then there's the win despite of. As of right now, Big Ben's a win despite of. Big Ben just hasn't been with it. And then Jimmy G, Mac Jones, and Ryan Tannehill, I think, are a win. And let's add Jalen Hurts. Let's add Jalen Hurts into that mix.
Yeah.
So Jimmy G, Mac Jones, Jalen Hurts, and Ryan Tannehill are win with, and everybody here and above is win because of.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, let's add Derek Carr to that win with. But
yeah,
everything above. But I agree with everything you said about Matt. His problem is again, it's more so his offensive line than anything. But he's just throwing some really unneeded interceptions.
Absolutely. Yeah. I do think because let me see what spot we're on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Are we on the 6th or 7th quarterback?
2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6. So Josh Allen will be 6.
Okay.
And I have Josh Allen at my 6. Again, he has a rocket arm. He can run, but I just can't rank him higher than any of the other ones. So Josh Allen's at 6 for me. And then I'm 90% sure that me and you are going to have the same list down here.
You're jumping a little bit ahead of me. At 6, I got Joe Burrow. He's having a great season. Don't get me wrong, but I really, really like these next 5 quarterbacks ahead of him. Joe Burrow, it's one of those win with quarterbacks, in my opinion.
I completely disagree. I'm so sorry.
I don't think he's gonna win you a Super Bowl, at least not this year. The team isn't good enough this year, and I feel like it's so much more than just him. If we're going overall career and we're ranking that, I think you can put him in a different situation, but man, it's a toss up. right now, because you could get a Joe Burrow that's throwing, I mean, dimes and dropping them right in the breadbasket of Jamar Chase, or you can have Joe Burrow against my Bears and he throws 3 interceptions to a garbage defense. It just depends, and it's a toss up. I love Joe Burrow. I hope to God that he does something with these Bengals because they're shocking me right now. I did not have them winning this many games before the season. So I don't know. I know you can argue this, and so I'm gonna let you, but I don't know what you got.
Again, I don't want to do this too much.
Mhm.
I again, my thing with the Bears is, what was that, like week 2, week 3? That's pretty early on the season, was it not?
I believe
The
that was
Bears.
week 3 because Justin
Yeah,
Fields played that game. That was my favorite game of the
super,
season.
super, super early on into the season, and he's coming off the ACL tear, so you got to
Mhm.
give him time to develop. But like, again, this might be recency bias even with this whole list, but these last 3, 4, 5 games of the season, I mean, he's literally been lighting up the league, and it's awesome segue. I have Joe Burrow at 5. So,
Kyler Murray at 5.
hmm,
Yeah.
am I missing a
See what I mean?
quarterback?
Did you
I'm
put in
conf-
Kyler Murray? That could be
I
why
put
you're
in
a little
Kyler
ahead of
Murray.
me.
No, I have him. I'm all right. So I'm interested how this is going to go. But
It's all
again, I
right.
have Joe at 5. He's been balling out. Um, let's
It's all
talk
right.
about Kyler Murray here.
Yeah, no, Kyler Murray. I mean, um, man, I mean, they're on a little bit of a slippery
Oh,
slope.
I
Who'd you
see.
forget?
No, we have the same. Mean you just disagreed on a certain player. We'll get there.
Okay. Yeah, Kyler Murray. I mean, he's a scrambler, man, and he's a little dude that can get out of tight situations that I really, really like. He's got a heck of an arm, man. I think that he could really, really chuck that ball. And I think Christian Kirk can also do something really well with this offense, just judging on, Kyler Murray. I'm also really hoping Christian Kirk blows up this offense just because I really want him on my Bears, man. That is like the top target for me this offseason. I want Christian Kirk on my Bears, and I think Kyler Murray is going to be the guy that makes him look like that wide receiver 1 before the Bears pick him up. So give me Kyler Murray at number 5.
Kyler Murray at 4. Again, boo. I think I know who's at your. I now I think I know how your list is, because I think we're gonna all agree on this. Uh, Again, Rocket
Who'd you have
Arm
it?
can get you at a
I'm sorry. Who
hmm?
did you have at 5?
Joe.
Joe. Yes. Sorry. Okay. Carry on.
Um, Kyler Murray again. I have him at 4. Rocket Arm. He looks like a toddler running out there. And again, we will save the Christian Kirk debate for later. My problem has nothing to do with Christian Kirk and just his fit in your guys' Bears offense. We'll get to that debate later. But
Oh
again,
my gosh.
Kyler Murray, phenomenal quarterback, like you said, huge, huge arm. He can scramble really well, but also he can just buy you time in the pocket.
With
So
at my 4th spot, I have Patrick Mahomes.
no, what? No way.
I do. And
It's the problem I have with this is I know who you have ranked in front of him, and I just
Patrick
specifically one
Mahomes, man.
quarterback in front of you. Oh
It's because I
no.
haven't named him yet, and that's why you're upset. No, Patrick
It's because he's
Mahomes,
not
man.
better than Patrick Mahomes.
This season. No. And I understand Dak Prescott is
Okay, so
not.
Dak Prescott's at 3.
Yes, he's at 3. I'm not putting
Okay.
him over the top 2. We both know who the top 2 are, but
He's
Patrick
not.
Mahomes. Listen,
No,
man.
he's.
Listen, man. Just listen to me, okay? And I understand. I understand. Patrick Mahomes is heating up. Don't get me wrong. But I'm telling you, these back-to-back quarterbacks that I have right now were my 2 starting quarterbacks for this year's fantasy matchups. I know, trust me. But dude, I get it. I totally understand. And man, as much as it sucks, I mean, because I'm seeing a reaction and I'm thinking about it, but like it still makes sense. And I'm totally sold on putting Patrick Mahomes here.
No,
It's
I.
because, I mean, dude, and he's a great quarterback, and that's why I have him ranked so high. Don't get me wrong; he's obviously top 4 or 5. I mean, don't disagree with me there, but I mean, man, these are two great quarterbacks, and we'll segue into Dak Prescott at number 3 for me after this. But Patrick Mahomes, man, he struggled early on. Teams are starting to figure him out, and I think that's gonna. I mean, you never know.
Okay.
With him, he could be really good. He could be really bad some games. Come on, he's number 4. He's number 4. He's
You
number
have
4.
no. My problem has nothing to do with. Am I disappointed that you have Patrick Mahomes at 4? Yes, but you have Dak Prescott. He did not like. He had 41
number
touchdowns.
3. Yes,
Stop.
sir.
He had 41 touchdowns in the season. Good for I think it's 41 is what Dak had. He had 41 or 40 or something like that. But he should have performed at a way higher level than what he did.
Dak is 37-10, man.
37-10, and that's my problem. 37 with wide receiver for Matt Stafford with for majority of the season with Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods, and Van Jefferson had 41 to finish out the season. Okay, Dak with the best wide receiving core in the entire league and a phenomenal offensive line finished with 37 touchdowns. And he should have performed at a significantly higher level than what he did the last 3 or 4 games in the season. And Patrick Mahomes did start off slow, but these last few games, great. And I'm not saying you use this as a point. And I'm not saying you're using this as a point, but using fantasy to rank quarterbacks,
no,
terrible idea. And I'm not saying you did that, but
no.
But like, what's his name? Taysom Hill. He finished in like per points per game because obviously he didn't play the entire season, but just strictly points per game, he finished super high. Taysom Hill is not a starting quarterback in the NFL.
No, but my God, was he so much fun to have. Nah, man, but you gotta think, man. And it's really close between these two. I will say it was very close, and it was tough for me to put Patrick Mahomes behind it. But Prescott's thrown 3 less interceptions, and it's just, and I mean, I hate people that look at strictly stats, but like, I mean, Prescott makes the offense look better, and it clicks more this season, and I really do think it does. I think
as it should though with that offense.
Yeah. But I mean, Mahomes also has a pretty good offense, and he makes it look good, and that's why he's in my top 4. But I mean, at the end of the day, he hasn't had that great of a season compared to what he should have. And I just think, as close as it is, Dak Prescott's at 3 for me, man.
I can't, again, strictly just off the eye test, these last, 3, again, excluding week 18 when he played against bench warmers and third stringers, the past like 4 games of the season, just off the eye test, he was just not the same player that he was. I don't know what happened to him. And if I'm going to pick, to finish hot, or to, start off slow and finish hot, or start off hot and finish slow, I'm picking the latter. I would rather start off slow and finish hot, and that's exactly what Patrick Mahomes did. And I just think you have Patrick Mahomes or Dak just too high. And I don't know. Who do you have it to?
The GOAT. Come on, man. Tom Brady.
Yeah, and I agree.
You can't count him out. I mean,
no, you can't.
As much as he's Tom friggin' Brady, dude. That's it. That's my explanation. I mean, injuries aside, Tom friggin' Brady. Number 1, clear cut.
Your man, Aaron, your favorite NFL player, Aaron Rodgers. I agree with these last 2, Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady at 1 and 2.
Aaron, if you're listening, and I know you're probably not, leave. I get it. You know what? I'll admit it. You own us. Congratulations. I can't get away from you, so you got to get away from me, man. Leave Green Bay. Leave us alone. We're done.
Not leaving. If he wins the Super Bowl or gets to the Super Bowl, he's not leaving. And you're just gonna have to deal with him, and that's just the sad truth of the situation. He's just so good.
A first-class ticket away from Green Bay. Fly them as far as possible. Amen. Anyway,
he's so good.
he's so good. He makes that off, dude. Okay, he has one wide receiver that's really good. Everybody else would be no names without Aaron Rodgers. And you will see that when Jordan Love starts for the Green Bay Packers next year because Aaron Rodgers is leaving. But
you saw that even in this Lions game when the Packers lost to the Lions.
Yeah.
So,
and you know what? We'll save the Aaron Rodgers conflict for the offseason. So
yeah,
you guys stay tuned for that one, because that'll be a spicy one, because you just heard a little tidbit. We definitely disagree on that one, but my God.
Yeah. Yes.
I'm a hopeful. But anyway.
Yeah, I bet you are. It was definitely fun. This first episode of the Pigskin Projects was fun. I enjoyed, talking football with you as a phenomenal co-host. It was great. But again, the name of this podcast is the Pigskin Project, and you can find us on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and all the other podcasting apps and websites. But please go and give me and Ryan a follow on Twitter. Ryan's Twitter handle is rmatthews27, and mine is Benjamin H04. And it's been a great time talking to you. Signing off.
Yes. Good night.